There's a freedom in living here which you don't get anywhere else. It's a very strange feeling. America, the land of the free. Land of the free. Bullshit.
Meet Oliver Šotra, from the renowned and wealthy Šotra family. Half Serbian, he was born and raised in London, but at 27 he moved to Belgrade, learned Serbian, tried stand-up comedy and eventually found his path in martial arts and e-commerce. We met in an €8 million villa in the center of Belgrade, where he told me why he chose Serbia over the West, the downsides of growing up with wealth and the toughest lessons Serbia has taught him. Enjoy!
The Serbs, like the Syrians and the Cubans and the Russians and the Ukrainians and any country where the people are aware of the system, the politics that rules the country, they have a sense of awareness about the reality of things. People in the West, you can spoon feed them their own propaganda. Slowly that's changing. But usually they believe wholeheartedly in the system that if I work hard and I pay my taxes and I get my mortgage and I'm going to produce my... They are unaware of the fact that they're a tax-producing entity for their capitalist regime. I'm a massive capitalist. I'm not a fucking communist. F that. I'm a libertarian, free market, maybe even there's a drop of anarchism in my political makeup. Everybody should be allowed to make whatever money they want, own their own properties, pay no property taxes on those properties. You look in the United States, you have to pay taxes on a property you already own. Here in this country, you own your house, you own it, that's it. You pay bills. If you don't want to use the electricity or the water, you turn it off, you don't pay shit. You just live in your fucking house, you own it. That's freedom. Serbian is the real world because here people are aware of the system, they're aware of how it works, they understand that there's corruption at every level, they understand the corruption in the West, they understand the corruption here, and they understand the realities of life, that it's important to focus on the love and the food and the drinks and the companionship and the joys of life, because these are the things that make life worth living. And there's a very, very strong sense of family here as well. It's the real world in the way that they still have a connection to what it is like to live as a human being, not as a machine and not as a cog in a wider political system.
You also said, I'm reading now, Serbia truly is the land of the free.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate?
The sense of freedom, because they leave you alone here. If you keep your head down and you mind your own business, nobody bothers you here. Nobody comes to you for this or that, or nobody obligates you to do anything if you don't want to. That's all I mean by that. You lived in other countries in the West or Japan or Russia, they come send you letters all the time. You always have to do something. I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to file this, I have to do this, bureaucratic obligation here and there. Fuck! You know, you want to kill yourself. It never ends. Your obligations to the state. Fuck you. You know, the Serbs, they don't care. If you don't care, they don't care. There's a freedom in living here which you don't get anywhere else. It's a very strange feeling. America, the land of the free. Land of the free. Bullshit. They never leave you alone. They send you bills every goddamn day. Doing business over there is a fucking nightmare. It's not free. I love America. I love it. I love spending time there. I love the people. I love everything about the culture, the exceptionalism, the individualism, the hot dogs, the baseball, all of it. And most Americans hate the bureaucracy and the machine. It's not what they want. Most people hate the infrastructure around them. Russians, Serbs, Americans, everybody.
Did you have some kind of cultural shocks when you came to Serbia?
Yes, I remember when I was a kid, I was 18 years old, I was a nice English boy and I went to get myself a pljeskavica at Stepin Vajat on Autokomanda, and I went there by myself and I stood for 45 fucking minutes waiting to get my pljeskavica because there's no line and people are just shouting their orders and picking it up and I don't want to cut in front of anybody, and I'm waiting there 45 minutes and I went home and I was sad and hungry and pissed off, and my father asked me, where's your pljeskavica? I told him this is bullshit. There are 45 minutes I'm standing in line and nobody takes my order, and this guy cut in front of me and he told me that's bullshit, wait there. And he went there and he came back in 5 minutes with a bag full of pljeskavica because he's born and raised in Belgrade and he knows how the queue system works.
You wrote that you came to Belgrade to complain about food. What's wrong with Serbian food?
Now the food here is amazing. 15 years ago, I remember the fastest diarrhea I ever had was on the airplane from London to Belgrade. I ate the Yacht Airways sandwich and I had to shit straight away. Within 5 minutes of eating the sandwich, I was like, that was fast. I'm not even in Serbian soil yet and I'm already clutching my stomach. In the old days, it used to be they never threw anything away. You got to get the pljeskavice. The onions were there for 3 days. The pljeskavice was already cooked. They put it back on the grill. There were no food safety, health standards. And everybody's fine because their bellies and their immune system and their gut flora was used to it. But I was coming from outside and I wasn't used to it. Now the food is amazing. Food here is fantastic. I go to the Marava kitchen all the time. You get fantastic meat. I eat a lot of meat, fresh eggs, straight from the farm. If you want to cook simple, home-cooked food and robust, clean food, Serbia is great. If you want exotic cuisine, you go to London for that.
What's the best 3 restaurants in Belgrade?
My favorite restaurants are Iva, New Balkan cuisine in Dorčol. It's excellent. It's a representation of Serbian dishes, which is unparalleled. I like Sakura in Beton Hala, very, very good Japanese cuisine. Pan-Asian, very good. I used to eat almost every day in Srpska kafana here on Svetogorska Street. Just good, traditional Serbian food.
Do you tip waiters?
Yeah.
How much?
10%.
10%?
Yeah, if the service is good, that's it. Sometimes more if I really liked it and I was with some people and I want to impress them. But usually 10%. I spend lots of time in America and they want to tip 20, 30%. Like, nah, fuck you. 10 max. And if I'm this European that doesn't tip, I don't care. I just spent $200 on dinner. $20 is enough of a tip. I ain't putting $60 on a $200 check.
Yeah.
Their tipping culture is insane. And in England, we tip 12.5% if the service is good.
What do you think about Serbian sense of humor? Is it similar to British?
Yeah. Serbs are one of the rare populations. They understand irony and sarcasm. And they have a darkness to their humor as well. They're very funny people. They have excellent sense of humor. And they understand complex humor and British humor. They're one of the few nations on earth who will understand and enjoy English humor. Very few. Yeah, they have a great sense of humor.
Is there a no topics, forbidden topics for stand-up comedians here in Belgrade?
In Belgrade, yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't joke about Roma people or like poor people, or I wouldn't joke about sensitive political topics or like Kosovo or something, unless I could find the humor in it, which I cannot. I'm not that good of a comedian to find the humor in these dark, fucked up, sensitive topics. But the ones that are no topics in the West, you can joke about here, no problem. They love it. There's no wokeness here at all.
What do you think? How has Serbia changed through this time you here?
It's changed a lot for the better. I like it much more now than it used to be. You used to be able to, you'd go to the marketplace in the wintertime, there were only onions and potatoes and turnips. There was nothing on the market, no fresh food. You go to the supermarket, it was all empty. It was hard to find fresh food and good food. In the summertime was great, but during the winter, nothing. And you had this cultural hegemony. There was no external influence on the culture. There was no rap music. All of it was very interesting. You look at the fashion and the music from the 90s, it's very interesting because it's like North Korea now. It's diplomatically isolated. And you look at the graphic design artists from North Korea, you see that they have no external influence whatsoever. So it's a fascinating geopolitical and artistic experiment there. And now you have much more foreign influence. What I don't like is that Serbia, in some ways, the establishment wishes for us to become another Slovenia, like this European version of a Central European country. And it loses that identity, that specialness that makes Serbia. It's changed, though, a lot for the better. But the streets have been upgraded, the buildings have been upgraded. I, as a foreigner, half foreigner, I come from outside and I see the improvements in the city infrastructure. I see the improvements in many, many ways here. And there's still much work to be done, but it's much better than it used to be. Serbs don't like change, and they don't like change being imposed upon them, but I think many of these things have been for the better.
Kako si učio srpski jezik?
Teško.
Ti si učio srpski jezik u Srbiji ili u Velikoj Britaniji?
Ne, u Srbiji. Došao sam u Srbiji i učio sam srpski na ulici. Ja sam imao neki 3-4 časova i odmah sam kapirao da to nije za mene. Moj mozak ne radi tako. U školi ja sam samo gledao kroz prozor i nisam mogao da učim ništa. Ne mogu da hvatim pažljiv u časovima. I sam otišao sa drugarima i sa devojkama i učio sam tako.
U porodici u Velikoj Britaniji vi ste pričali samo engleski?
Samo engleski, da. Da, samo engleski. Znači, ja sam imao više od 20 godina kad sam prvi put učio prvi srpski reč. Nisam znao ništa.
Ja sam učim srpski sada. A koji će biti tvoj savjet za mene? Kako mogu da učim srpski?
Samo pričaj sa ljudima. Nemoj da se stidiš. Nikako. To je najveći problem sa ljudima. Ovo mi je sad 5. ili 6. jezik. Učio sam i nemački, francuski, grčki, italijanski. I moraš samo da uđeš u pekar i da pričaš. I ljudi odmah znaju da nisi odavde, da imaš čudan akcenat, a Srbi ne štidi se uopšte. Dakle si ti? Ti nisi odavde. Ti čudno pričaš srpski.
Koja ti je najomiljena reč na srpskom jeziku?
Raskrsnica.
O,
Zato što prvi put u Srbiji sedim na tramvaj i gledam tu na znak. Tu baš i piše na ćirilicom jedno ogromno reč. Pitam drugaru, kao, šta to piše tamo? Ovo je ogromna reč, kaže, to je raskrsnica. I pola sata sam vežbao kao raskrsnica.
ti izgledaš kao Srbin.
Ja sam Srbin. Meni najbolji drug Vlada kaže kao ti si najveći Srbin, brate. Kao ti imaš 2 metra i ti si, ti si ćelav i ružan i ogroman i mišićav, ti si klasičan Srbin, znaš. I was getting my beard trimmed in the barber shop. A Serbian guy was sitting next to me and I was speaking in English with the barber because the barber likes to practice his English. And the Serbian guy sitting next to me, he's like, a zašto pričate na engleskom? Ovdje je Srbija, ovdje je Srbija, pričamo srpski ovdje. Zašto ne možemo da komuniciramo na engleskom? Ako vežbamo malo engleski, čovjek hoće da priča engleski, šta je problem? Pa ovdje je Srbija, brate, kao u Srbiji pričamo na srpskom. A šta to znači? Da ja moram sad da pričam na srpskom sa njim zato što ti hoćeš to, jel tako? Kao, ne, to je pointa, ovdje u Srbiji pričamo srpski. I on mi je rekao, ja sam Srbin. Znači, ti nisi Srbin, ti si Englez, rekao mi. Kao, ti si Amerikanac, ti nisi odavde. Ja sam mu rekao, pa šta to znači? Nisam se rodio ovdje, to znači šta? Ja imam srpski pasoš za državljanstvo, ja sam Srbin. Nisi Srbin, nisi odavde, nisi pravi Srbin. Ja sam mu rekao, sad ću da ti objasnim nešto. Ja sam 10 puta više Srbin nego ti. Kako misliš da ti možeš da budeš veći Srbin od mene? Ja sam mu rekao ja sam odlučio da živim ovdje. Ja sam se rodio u Engleskoj, imam britansku pasoš, mogu da živim gdje god hoću na planeti Zemlji. Odmah sutra, ali odlučujem da živim ovdje. Čak i nisam znao srpski kad sam odrastao u Engleskoj. Moj otac nije nas učio srpski. Ja sam učio srpski kao odrastan čovjek. I dalje pričam srpski zato što živim ovdje. Ja sam veći Srbin od tebe. Ti bi putovao sutra. Ako ja tebi dajem sad američki pasoš, ti bi putovao sutra da živiš u Americi. Jedva čekaš. Nekako da izbegavaš svoju zemlju. A ja odlučim da to znači da sam ja veći Srbin od tebe. Odmah malo tišina, čovjek je razmišljao nešto. So I told him like to his face, I'm a bigger Serb than you. When you transplant yourself, when you are from one place and you live in another place, there are challenges. I am mixed as well. I'm half English and half Serbian. There will always be that Englishness inside of me and that Serbianness inside of me. When I go to Serbia and nobody stands in line and everybody jumps the queue and everybody's pushing to get in front, I'm just looking back and things like, these barbarians. And then when I go to England and I see all the like vegan skinny men who are like women are in charge of them in their lives and they're on the, and I think to myself, yeah, bunch of pussies, you know, like I can't both of those perspectives are wrong, of course. They're insensitive, but that's the instinct that comes out from inside of me. You have two halves of yourself. So it's like, I'm obviously not mixed race, and mixed race people have even more challenges than that, but I have some sympathy for people who are from mixed backgrounds.
So you drink tea with milk?
Tea with milk. Tea. I like tea with Earl Grey tea with milk, no sugar. The Queen, before she died, she drank Earl Grey with lemon, no milk. It's very hard to find good quality English tea in Serbia, but I do my best. I bring it from England. Every time I go to England and come back, I bring for myself little things like porcini mushroom stock cubes and random spices and herbs and stuff, and English tea bags and a few other things.
Yeah.
But of course a Serb always reacts something like, yeah, well, fuck you. Why don't you go back there if you like it so much? Our tea is the best. Puši kurac, or whatever they say, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a usual reaction. Fair enough, but I'm half and half. I'm half English and half Serbian, so I love both?
Don't you have some kind of crisis of identity? What do you think?
No, I would not describe it as a crisis. I would say that if you choose to, everything is how you frame your perspective on things. So if you choose to embrace the richness that dual cultures offer you. So I can choose to embrace the order and legality and structure and long-term thinking that the British have. And I can choose to embrace the passion and the intelligence and the strategy that the Serbs have. And you can choose to incorporate the positives from both cultures. Because the English are soulless, grey people. And the Serbs are passionate, interesting, very smart people. And then the English are also wonderfully loyal and societally conscious and industrious and hardworking. The Serbs are lazy and corrupt. And these are attributes. You can choose to embrace the negatives or the positives. So you can choose to embrace where you come from. I wouldn't describe it as a crisis of identity. You can also create your own identity. You don't have to be an Englishman or a Serb. You can just be Oliver. You can just be, I like to say, you can just be who you are. And you can think about who you want to be and become that and work towards it every day. If you don't know where you come from, it's because you haven't investigated your home culture or who your parents were or where you came from. And if you're lost, and I understand that, that's why some people, lots of people from the West, they go and they move to Thailand or Japan. They embrace that culture because the Western idea of culture has become shameful and eroded. You have many things to be proud of as a Frenchman, as an Englishman, as an Italian, as an American, as a Canadian, but instead they choose, or rather the system imposes upon them a sense of shame for where they come from and the things they can't celebrate for themselves. And so they move to another culture and appropriate that. How is that better?
What do you feel when you come back to England?
I don't feel like it's my home anymore. When you have many homes, you end up having no homes. The English look at me like, they always ask me, where are you from? Where are your parents from? London. Yeah, but if you keep going back, like where are they from? It's like, father was Serbian. Right, Serbian, that's it. Now I got it. Now that explains why you look like that, you know.
When I was in London, I perceived this place as a place of power, you know. All is happening here. All the main things are happening here.
Yep.
And if you have ambitions, you should be there.
That's very interesting because you talk about ambition. Serbs are very ambitious people. The expression of ambition in Serbia, you can be very successful in Serbia, but you don't know those people here. There are just as many rich people here as there are in London, proportionally, but they're smart enough to keep their mouths shut, keep their money quiet, and not flash it, because they understand that attracting attention brings nothing but negativity and usually the destruction of their financial empires. Now in London, the ambition you talk about, you walk around the streets of London, it's designed to give you an impression of power and imperialism, and it's true. They have such a good line of bullshit, the English and the Americans. The streets are paved with gold. If you work hard, you come over here and you make all this money. That's what the Serbs understand that the English and the Americans perhaps don't. Serbs are good at exporting their talents. They go somewhere like England or America and they become usually very successful. And that's what we call a brain drain. The smartest and most talented people leave. You have to be just as clever and as smart there to circumnavigate the rules that are designed to keep you in place and extract from you your labor as you have to be here. When you join the rat race in the West, that's all it is. You just end up a rat.
But you had a good start. You're from a wealthy family, and you shouldn't work so hard as many people in London.
Let me tell you what that means, coming from a wealthy family. That means that no matter what you do in your life, whether you're successful or not, people judge you. Oh, you made a success of yourself. Of course you did. You were from a wealthy family, you had every advantage. You didn't make a success of yourself. Look at you. You wasted all this opportunity that you had. You were from a wealthy family, you had every advantage, and you still did nothing with your life. I went to private schools my whole life. 99% of every kid I went to school with is either an addict or a loser and has done nothing with their lives because they had too much privilege, too much scope for boredom, and no ambition. And you can very easily squander a family fortune. Believe me, I knew very, very wealthy people, worth hundreds of millions or even billions. Greeks, Americans, they lost their entire family fortunes. It takes one generation to build an empire, one more to destroy it. And I would wager this, that in every strata of society, whether you're wealthy or middle class or very poor, I would say there's the same ratio of people who have the capability to become successful. Whether they had no advantage or not, because it's a matter of perspective. If you're very poor, you're like, okay, I have to work or I don't eat. If you're very rich, you're like, I have to work or I will go insane. If you're middle class, like, I have to take care of what we built. There are pressures. You can choose to ignore them, squander them, or you can choose to improve upon them and embrace them.
For me to start a business, I should work like and save like for several years, to start, for example, a film production. But for you, it's like you can do it like this, 1, 2, 3, and the cost of failure is not so big for you as for me.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There is a freedom in failure. When you fail and you lose everything, now I have had 5 times in my life I have had to restart from zero. Now I cut myself off from my family financially a long time ago. Don't take a penny from my father. Cutting yourself off from something voluntarily is harder than not having it at all. You can always start again, you say. Why? Because you can ask father for money. You think father's money is a free, easy, blank check. Here you go, son. Take as much as you want. A next business idea fails, no problem. Come back for some more. Doesn't work like that. Using father's money, you have to answer to father. You're not the boss anymore. Now the money man decides. That takes away your ability to think of yourself as a cohesive individual, to think of yourself as a man. It's emasculating. That's more important. That's more important than anything else, for your own self-respect. Failure is fine. Failure is great. Failing at something is a teacher. Most successful people are the people who failed the most. Yes, you can always go home to mommy. We're sitting right now in an $8 million villa, and I'm talking about cutting myself off financially. What am I going to say? No? No, I don't want to go on the yacht. I don't want to use the swimming pool. No, I'll use it. It's there to use. If you don't use it, you're a fucking idiot. It is what it is. However, when you build your own money in your own life and you buy your own place and you look after your own family and you take care of your children and you pay, you understand the value of those things better than the people who have simply been given everything their whole lives. Original, yeah, this is all my, mostly they're my uncles. He died many years ago, but he was a relatively famous painter, Serbian artist. His art is nightmarish, and I've been looking at it my whole life. In every house we own around the world, the walls are covered with just his art. So in my own personal apartment, I have anything but his artwork on the walls. I collect art from any source other than his, because I've been looking at them my whole life. They are nightmarish, to say the least. He was very talented, but he was also disturbed, so.
You're now running business or several
business, yeah. I run several businesses. Online martial arts video instructional company. It's like Masterclass or Udemy, but for martial arts instructionals. It's BJJEE on Shopify. Another business I run, I sell my business consultation advice to other companies on how to build their online businesses. E-commerce, basically. I was a comedian for 15 years, and then when COVID hit, I transitioned into online. I did a lot of writing, comedy writing, and then I started to enter the e-commerce world, and I realized that the skills you need to sell something are transferable very easily from one business to another. You have a good product and a good story behind it, and you offer it to people, and you use the tools that you have available to disseminate this to people, and that's it. And it's very popular, and people love it. All the reviews are great, and it's a nice business. I enjoy it because I'm an avid martial artist, and it's my field.
Bruce Lee, it's your idol?
When I was 14 years old, I started to train Wing Chun Kung Fu, which is the style of Kung Fu that Bruce Lee studied in Hong Kong under his grandmaster Yip Man. And then he was training under Wong Shun Yung for the remainder of his Kung Fu career. Then he moved to San Francisco, to America, without finishing the Wing Chun system. And he created his own style called Jeet Kune Do. So he's often referred to as the father of mixed martial arts. He was cross-training in boxing and other styles. So Bruce Lee in Wing Chun world is a controversial figure because he never finished the system. And he was beaten up in his school in Hong Kong by some of his compatriots and some of his classmates and his teacher. They were critical of him teaching Wing Chun to foreigners. Bruce Lee, like most things, I have an idea about it. I don't have a strong belief one way or another. Bruce Lee was a fantastic martial artist and athlete. Was he the great Kung Fu master he proclaimed to be? Could he beat shit out of Chuck Norris in a real match? Who knows? What would happen if he climbed into the cage with Khabib Nurmagomedov? What would happen? I personally think Khabib would twist him up like a pretzel.
you have found yourself, or you still finding?
No, I
yourself?
found it. Yeah, I know who I am.
It's martial arts. It's
One part of who I am. Yeah. Through martial arts, you will study. You will have your ego beaten, and you will get punched in the face many times, and you'll get humbled many times, and you realize all of a sudden you walk around, and when you were an angry young man and you like to fight, you get older, you get a better martial artist, you're like, please don't hurt me. Because you get afraid of everybody. Who knows what that guy knows? There was a little Chinese guy who trained Kung Fu with me, who was 5'5", he weighed 60 kilos, he could beat shit out of you, me, and 3 other guys. Tough, bad-ass motherfucker, high skills level. You suddenly realize that everybody has something, and you don't want to get involved. If you have to, sure, but that's almost never the case. But most of the time it was your ego that was fighting rather than you. You don't have to. I just train martial arts because I love it. It's part of who I am.
What is the biggest lesson Serbia taught you?
Living in Serbia was like going to the army. Became a man here. Used to be a boy before I lived in Serbia. Then living in Serbia turned me into a man because it exposed me to a lot of ugliness, which I hadn't been exposed to before. Not saying that there's no ugliness elsewhere. There's ugliness everywhere. But my first experience of ugliness came from Serbia. I mean, very, very smart people who pretend to be your friend, or pretend to love you, or pretend to be in your life, that end up not being what you thought they were going to be. So you learn hard lessons here, but very valuable lessons. At the same time, it's a land of extremes, so I learned all these ugly lessons. I also learned these beautiful lessons. How to live, how to enjoy, how to exist, how to be aware of the duality of existence. And awareness is the biggest lesson I ever learned. I became aware of the realities of existence, the good and the bad.